Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. So in this video, we're going to use another YouTuber's plans to create a wooden bucket. Now that YouTuber's name is Neil Paskin over at Pask Makes on YouTube. An incredible builder. He's done some fantastic projects. Let's get started. Now to begin with, we're going to start by slicing down these 2x4s and making boards out of them for the staves. Because lumber's expensive, and I may mess this up. So when you get the plans, you're going to notice right off the bat that Neil is from a different country, and he uses this strange numerical system with MM units. That's MM for many mistakes, or millimeters. So what we're going to do is, the plans call for 300 millimeters. I happen to have one of these crazy mathematical rulers that has this on it. So the plans call for 300. We're going to go to 400 millimeters to give me some wiggle room for mistakes. So I need 6 2x4s. Not a single one of you have asked what this is, so I'm going to tell you anyway. I don't have a good memory, so I've never loosened the tension on my bandsaw blade on the old one. On this one, it's recommended. So I have to put that on there to tell myself, release the tension and tighten the tension when we're going to use the old Ricken. So as you might imagine, there's some crazy angles, as you can see here, and a crazy bevel on this thing. Neil was good enough to make a couple of jigs and include those in the plans. So that's the next step, is to make these jigs so that I can get the angles and the bevels correct. So I've taken off one side to make flat. Now we've got to use this magical system again, the many mistakes system, and come up with 84 wide. I've already set the table saw. We got to slice all these off, bing bang boom, and then start using the templates. All right, on to plan B. We have the bevel, we have the angle, and as old Neil said, just to keep things straight, turn them all so you don't mess up. In here, angles are correct. We don't adjust the fence, run it through, and we will have what we are looking for. Just like that. Woohoo! For safety's sake, I'm not reaching in there and getting that stick out with that blade running. Okay, moment of truth. See if all those cuts made it. Hey, no, you stay there. Beginning to look like a pail to me. By George, I think we've got it. And like a lot of projects, the excitement instantly turns into, dang it, because I forgot to cut that notch in there for the bottom. So now this gets to be more interesting, how I cut a straight line across the inside bottom of these staves when they're angled. I'll figure it out. So here's the solution I came up with. I know this was 90, these two sides are parallel. I'm going to use the fence to give me a parallel cut this way, but I'm also going to use the miter gauge. I take that back, I'm not going to use the fence in conjunction with the miter gauge. I'm going to use the fence to help set the miter gauge to the correct angle, like you see here. Keeping this against the side of the fence, keeping this against the angle, locking it down. Then we just have to determine where that groove goes. I'll put in a spacer block here. Good to go, not a problem. Here's a nice spacer block. $10 millimeters from the bottom, a 6mm groove. 7mm deep. That ought to be interesting. I got this fancy schmancy ruler too. But why do they produce rulers where the line isn't on the edge of the ruler? How are you supposed to use it? Wait a minute. Milescraft depth gauge comes through again. It's got the many mistakes meter on the back side of it. And we need a 7mm deep groove. Just like that. Let's did this. So the next step in this process is to make these. Well, only one, it's the bottom. Now old Neil used one of these guys to make his. I'm going to use one of those guys to make mine. And that thing over there will help me. It may be cheating, But you know I got to use that CNC to do this. Okay, next thing, glue the bottom together. And this video is not sponsored by this brand of glue. This video is sponsored by Hinkle Shop, 100%. We'll put a little waterproof glue on there though, a little waterproof glue, and we will slap it together.
Okay, we're back to the shop that's not the shop here. Let's open up Carveco. We're going to work in millimeters in this case, but go to New Model. 406, 406, that's a good size to start with. We'll put the origin in the bottom left. Yes, we're working in millimeters. We're going to click OK. Now we need to create a polygon, and luckily Neil has given us a bunch of numbers here on his prints to help us along, but click the polygon tool here on the left, drag one open, let go, and you have a polygon. As you can see, I've already put in 12. That's the number of sides that we have on this object. Neil also was good enough to give us the angle, so the angle is 30 degrees. Scrolling down, click Create, and there we have a polygon, 12-sided polygon. However, we need to adjust the size because the size of it needs to be 200. So while it's highlighted, if we go over here to the left to the Transform tool, we can then go down and change this number right here from 180 to 200. Bottom is 200 as well. Scrolling down, apply. As you can see, the polygon has gotten larger, and we should be good to go. Now, I'm going to do one more little trick here that I'm going to use later. I think this will help me out. We need to bevel the bottom, so I'm going to do well, I've got a little trick in mind, and I'll show you that as we progress here after I've cut this thing out. But what we need to do is go to the Circle tool, and I'm going to put a circle right dead center in this project, and I want a 9mm diameter circle, which is 3/8 of an inch. We're going to click Create, close that out. Now, the one thing that I like to do when I'm working with circles or any other object is I like to work off the center of the stock or the center of the work area. So I will hit F9, which will move that circle to the middle. I'll highlight the polygon and hit F9. Now I know everything is in alignment and everything is going to work good out in the shop that is the shop. Going to go to Tool Paths, and we are going to create a profiling tool path. We're going to go outside the 0mm, final pass, we don't care about that. Start depth is 0, finish depth is going to be 19mm or 3/4 of an inch. I take that back. We're going to go 1/2 of an inch. Let me look at my ruler here because I'm not used to the many mistakes system. And 1/2 of an inch is, let's call it 14mm. You all can correct me in the comments if that's not correct, if 14 is not 1/2 of an inch, but we're going to go with 14. We're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. And we're not going to worry about tabs and all that other accoutrement. We're going to put blue tape underneath this thing and stick fast in a hurry to the top of the CNC. Scrolling down, everything else looks good. Material is going to be, let's call it 14mm again, 1/2 of an inch. Let's give this a name. We'll call it the polygon. Calculate. It's going to do that. Close this out. Highlight the circle in the center. This time we're going to do an area clearance toolpath on that one. Right here. Click that. Start depth 0. And in this case, I don't want that hole to go all the way through. Let's go about half the distance. So we'll go 7mm. Again, we're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill for this. I want an offset movement. I don't really want that thing whipping around in there at 100 inches per minute or millimeters per minute. Everything else is good. We'll call this the hole. Calculate now. Close this out. Let's simulate the toolpath just for fun. We're not going to do a control bar. We know what it's up to. Space bar down, rotating. We can see that it's what we want. Go to simulation, delete that. Go back here to bring the vectors back. Save the tool paths. I would like to do the hole first, so we'll click on the hole, click this arrow to put the hole on the top. Down here and write polygon. Let's not call it polygon. Let's call it bottom of the bucket. Click save. Once more for insurance. Good to go. Let's go back out to the shop and cut out the bottom of this bucket, or as the northerners call it, a pail.
Okay, 3 things. Number 1, it's the next day. Number 2, I got my ears lowered. And number 3, if you were paying very close attention, when I did that programming in the shop that's not the shop, I did not reduce the size of that circle in the center of that polygon. We fixed it before we did the carve. Let's keep going. Now, if you're wondering what I'm doing with my hand here, I don't like the slight movement in the block, so I'm just putting a little tension inwards on the stock. Okay, let's see if we can mess up this board. Just like that, a bottom of a bucket. So here's what I'm going to show you what that dowel is for. On the back side of this, we have to bevel that to that line, which is roughly 6 millimeters. It's a little bit narrower than that. And old Neil, he put this thing on the table saw and ran it through to cut a 12-degree bevel. I'm not going to put it on the bandsaw. I'm going to show you something a little different that I think will work. It might not be as precise, but it will definitely be something different to watch. Concept is simple. I'm going to spin the drill and I'm going to hold it against this belt at what I feel is the correct angle, and we're going to sand it down until we get to the line or close to it, and we're going to fit it into the pail, make sure it works. Wish me luck, fingers crossed, here we go. That's a fail. Just like it never existed. Now that's definitely not the outcome we were looking for, but that's what these tests are for. We're gonna go over to the bandsaw, again with the bandsaw, over to the table saw, just like Neil did, and we're gonna cut the 12-degree angle on this. Okay, so there are some mistakes in woodworking that you just can't recover from. Here is one such mistake. It seems as though someone may have cut this too small to fit the pail.
Okay, so to figure out what I did, I went back to the computer and got on it and looked at the programming. And what I did was very, very simple. The measurement you enter into Carveco measures off of the points. So when I said I needed 200 millimeters, it went off the points. I don't need 200 millimeters off of the points. I need 200 millimeters off the flat. So in order to achieve that, we needed to make one of these little simple jigs here, pointed. We're going to put it in there in the ends, and we're going to slide these apart on the points to tell me exactly what I need, and then when I go to recarve it in the programming, I'll know exactly what length to make the polygon based off of that measurement right there.
So I started with tape, the way Pask did, and I got to thinking, I think a bungee cord would work better. If we start with tape to hold it in position, then put a bungee cord on it, take the tape off, that'll give me the flexibility to pop these staves out and get the bottom. I can put the bottom inside. Let me move the camera, we'll see if it works. Now I don't think I need to take the tape all the way off. I just need to separate it so that I can pull it apart a little bit. The reason I'm thinking is I need to figure out a way to get these angles to line up, and what better way than to have some flexibility. Let's see if it'll work here. Well, look at that. That is awesome. See if we can tip it over without breaking it. Just like that. Time to put the squeeze on it. We're going to do that with some pipe. Pipe looks like a flat bar to me. I'm going to make circle. Looks like beginning of circle. Hope I'm making old Pask proud here. This is exactly how he did it. I don't have all the metalworking tools I'd like to have yet, but I guess you don't need them all. Take this to the old welder, put some bird turds on there, right there together, right there, and pop it on the pail. One more ring to go. Also, you have to taper this around here. I don't have an anvil. I may end up using the grinder and just put a small bevel on that all the way around the inside so that it goes on and pinches. Looking good. So I made the second ring off camera. You saw the first one, you didn't need to see two, and I said we need to put a bevel on here by smacking that with a hammer. Now I said I didn't have an anvil, but I do have this 25-pound hammer with a broken handle on it and a jaw horse vise. And that's working just like an anvil to put that little bevel on there. So the pail rings are on. They're spaced correctly from the top to the bottom, or evenly all the way around. The next step is that doohickey right there, which is the handle carrier. Handle carrier, carry handler. It's the thing you put on the pail to put the handle through so you can carry the pail. That's next. Now it calls for a piece 30 millimeters wide. This one is 40. I'm going to call that good enough. And we're going to take some blue tape, throw it on here so that I can write and draw all over it easier. Just like so I can lay out where things are supposed to be. Neil's got these up 7 over 7. That sounds like a good number. So let's go 5, 6, 7. And over 7 is right there. And right there. And the center hole is 30 millimeters from the bottom. And that's like this, down the center. Get out this guy. I was hoping that punch would go through the paper. Like so. And we're gonna do this old school. We're gonna go with these 1/4-inch carriage head bolts. Now, Neil, when he made his handle mounts, he had a file and he filed these things square. I don't have a file tiny enough to get in there. So here's the trick. Take a 3/8 drill, drill down, not all the way through. Oop. Set your bolt in. Snug it up so that your vise doesn't go anywhere, and you can actually punch a square hole with the bolt head itself. And you can bend over and pick up the other one that flew out. Now what I'm going to do is set them in there good and tight, and I'm going to take them out to the welder and put just a tack weld on the inside, and that'll hold them in place. Well, there you have it, a pail. I guess it needs a handle. I just went out and whipped this one up all together. I made this one out there in the back off camera. Made it off camera. I made this fancy plastic handle for it too. So let's see if we can make this work, being that I made this real quick off camera. everybody. The world's most expensive pail that was a blast to make. I want to thank Neil. If he ever gets a chance to watch this video, I want to thank him for putting those plans up on his website. It was an awesome project, a lot of fun. And I know the question's going to be, but will it hold water? I don't know about water, but this is blue, and I think it might hold that. Yep, not a leak to be found. Well, there you go, folks. I hope you got something out of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give us a like, a share, and as always, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we'll catch you on the next one.